Run us through the sense you're making of the markets here, where this entire week has just been so volatile and seeming to run on any bit of information.
Absolutely, Alishia. We've been seeing that the entire week. What we saw at the beginning was the markets going down, and then some bargain hunting happening then in the market, buying that market and bringing it right up. We saw today a prime example of what happened, where we opened about 1% lower and then rose up again, and now trading about 1% higher. So very high volatility in the market, very choppy sessions, and I think the market just looking for direction.
To a large degree, we've been moving globally by the movement we've seen in Chinese markets. Are the markets overstating at this stage the Chinese prominence and influence, or is this the beginning of a power shift that's starting to filter through here?
I don't believe it's necessarily the beginning of a power shift. I think China has always been a key and crucial member, of the markets. However, China is the third biggest economy, and I was reading something earlier today that actually showed that China and India together are only half of the United States economy, and and just about similar to what Japan is, but that's combined. So it's not to say that China is not important, but it's to say that maybe their relevance is not that paramount. However, on the other side, in terms of commodities and demand there, China is extremely crucial, especially with their growth that's happening there and the high levels of growth, and their demand for commodities. They happen to be very crucial on the resources sector.
Well, this powerhouse, of course, to consider along with that of India. And in this regard, let's focus on the MTN story today. Of course, we've seen Bharti MTN, that tie-up again being delayed, the new date to an agreed deal being at the end of September. What's the market starting to price in here?
I think the market is, firstly, Bharti came out today saying that they're not going to add a sweetener, and that the delay is just for the talks to be solidified and for, more due diligence tests to be done, and and just really more admin on the admin side. But I think the market is expecting a little bit more of a sweetener from Bharti, and MTN is one of the gems of the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. I think that shareholders, especially longer-term shareholders, do expect a little bit more out of their holdings, and so it'll be interesting to see where they end up. I mean, MTN is still trading under the 130 rands level, but it will be interesting to see. But yesterday when they announced that it will take a little bit longer for them to come to conclusive talks, we did see a very strong pullback, showing that investors did not like it, and maybe some speculators in that stock getting out of there. But it will be interesting to see where actually their proposal will be.
The rand should be starting, though, to feel some frustration with all of that these possible inflows are being held back here, and that things are so temperamental at this stage. How much rand activity that we're seeing right now is on the back of this deal, and what's said to be speculation at this stage?
Well, ironically, yesterday when this was announced that there would be a further delay in this, we didn't see much of a reaction. If anything, the rand opened a lot stronger this morning. So I think not that much. I think investors have already priced in a lot as to what is going to happen when the deal comes in. But as opposed to versus the physical exchange of rands and dollars, I think that will happen later on should the deal happen. I think we've been seeing that today it's been hovering around about the 788 level, not really making a move upwards or downwards, but just hovering there. And I think it's just waiting to see, what happens at the end. Looking for other information in the market to actually give it some type of direction.
That having been said, I mean, we've got, as you say, the rand holding at around about that 788 point, but it has been able to hold stronger for so long, despite the fact that we saw markets globally and the JSE initially starting on, a lower note as well. There's been a suggestion with that having come through to the fore this morning that a decoupling of the rand to equities may just be starting to emerge here. Now we see both of them back in tandem, that being the rand and equities. So how much of that theory could we actually be seeing as viable at this stage?
Well, I think, not pretty much. I think as you saw earlier on this week when there was a huge pullback in the market, both locally as well as globally, we saw the rand actually went down to 8.20. So also reacting to that, I mean, we are an emerging market first and foremost, and so we will react more sensitively to what happens in the global market and what news comes out there, both in terms of our currency as well in terms of our market. So I think there's still a relationship still exists there. However, when we talk about things such as the FDI maybe that may be coming into the country, then the decoupling starts to happen, where then we'll see the rand react a lot stronger or to whatever information is coming out there. But like you say, this morning, the rand opened up very strongly, whereas the market went down. So that, and then later on they started to maybe move in the same direction. So there's still the relationship holds, but it depends on what information is coming out.
We've got resources holding back the market for now from the gains that we could possibly be seeing moving forward. Obviously, the stronger rand playing somewhat of a role here, but it's also demand in terms of demand in gold, for example. That picture that's being painted not too bright for the gold miners moving forward, is it?
No, not too bright at all. I think, especially physical demand for gold. We're waiting for the Indian wedding and I think the end of Diwali to come through, where perhaps the physical demand of gold will come back. But then, we are going through an economic recession, so it will be very interesting to see what happens then. But also, in terms of exchange-traded funds, we're seeing maybe some pullback there. But I think it's also important to remember that gold acts as an alternative to other investments, other riskier investments, such as investing in shares and those kind of investments. So when we see the market go up, we tend to see that the gold price either declines or stays in a stable position, but it does not move up. So I do expect that, going forward, gold miners will tend to struggle, and it also depends on what the rand does, especially for South African gold miners. They have been hurt quite a bit, as we've seen in their results.